This video will show you how to uninstall the stock suspension on all 2007 through 2013 Silverado 1500s.
Alright guys, first thing you want to do, go ahead and grab that 19mm socket. We have to get a little bit of weight off of our whole steering assembly here because we're going to be manipulating the upper and lower control arms a little bit. So I'm going to remove all of our brake stuff. First we're going to start with our actual caliper, then we're going to remove the bracket. Now you want to hang the caliper out of the way because you got this line on here. Pretty helpful, just grab yourself a wire hanger or something like this. We're going to hang it on the frame rail. All right, now we're going to remove the bracket for our caliper. It's secured using 2 bolts here on the back. You'll need an 18mm socket to pull these out. Okay, now we're going to remove our rotor. It's held in place with this little Torx head screw. You'll need a T30 Torx bit for this one. All right, we're almost ready to start tackling our suspension components, but before we do that, we're gonna get some slack in this ABS line, again, because we're gonna be pushing up and down on our control arms, and we don't want this thing to break or anything like that. So, got a couple of plastic retainers right here. Just grab yourself a flathead screwdriver. For this first one, just above where the rotor sits, you just wanna press it on the little gray tab and kind of pull it off to the side, and it should fall out like so. Now we're gonna go ahead and tackle this one here. This one's slightly different. You gotta kind of push out on this little tab right here in order to pop this ring out. All right, now we're gonna do the same thing up here next to our brake line on this little bracket. This one has a small Christmas tree fitting. That's just held in place. Just kind of pry up on this thing underneath until it unseats itself. Okay, so we were about to tackle the sway bar end link, but I actually noticed we can get even more slack on this brake line right here by removing this bracket on the upper control arm. Pretty simple, just grab a 10mm socket. Okay, now we can tackle the sway bar end link. You have to remove this nut up top, but when you go to spin this nut, oftentimes the stud itself will spin. You can see we have this sleeve right here, so we can't actually grab onto anything, but that's not a big deal. Just go ahead and grab a 15mm wrench, and you're actually gonna spin the bottom of the end link with a 15mm socket. So just go ahead and hold that nut stationary. Okay, now once you remove that nut, you want to pop this little rubber bushing off the top of the stud here. You can leave all the hardware on the bottom here. We just need the end link to be able to move up and down on the stud itself. Okay, now we're going to tackle our tie rod end link. Kind of the same process as the sway bar, because we don't really have to worry about this thing spinning on you too much. At any rate, you'll need a 21mm deep socket to remove this nut. Just keep in mind, if the stud somehow does manage to spin on you while you're removing the nut, it's going to be a similar process as the sway bar end link. You're going to actually be grabbing the bottom of the stud. You can see how it's got some flat surfaces on it. This is actually sized up for, I believe, a 10mm socket. So again, if you go to remove the nut and the whole thing starts spinning on you, switch over to a 21mm wrench and spin the stud itself using a 10mm socket. But at any rate, once you got the nut removed, you're going to want to grab yourself a hammer. Take your time with this. Be careful. You want to smack the side of the mount here. That's going to dislodge the stud. Okay, now we're going to tackle the upper ball joint here. This one's a little bit smaller. You'll need an 18mm deep socket for him. You can come up underneath the lower control arm. It's kind of convenient, especially with an extension. And then once you remove that nut, it's going to be the same process as the lower control arm. You're going to smack the top of the knuckle there to dislodge it. Okay, now we're going to remove the bottom bolts for our strut. That's securing it to our lower control arm. You'll need a 15mm socket for these. Okay, now we're going to tackle the 3 nuts that are securing our strut to our frame rail here. You got one up front, one on the right side, and then one's kind of obscured back here. You have this wiring harness. It's normally clamped onto the stud itself, so just pop that plastic fitting off of there. You need an 18mm wrench for this. I highly recommend using a ratcheting wrench because it's a tight space. One thing to keep in mind too, if you don't have ratcheting wrenches like me, you can also open the hood, especially if you're working on the ground with floor jacks. You can come in from the top with a deep socket as well, most likely. Okay, now we're ready to remove our strut. You can see we have lots of play here in our control arm. That's good. Large pry bar like this will definitely come in handy to try and get a little bit of leverage. Just place it in the pocket right there. Maybe that's where you came in to do the upper ball joint. But go ahead and push down on him. Pull the strut out. Pretty simple. Make sure you clear the upper control arm as well. Okay, now by this point, the front end should be all wrapped up. Congratulations. Now all we have to do is tackle the rear end. There's gonna be a lot of rust back here, guys. There's just no 2 ways to go about it. So you definitely wanna grab yourself a penetrating oil. I'm a personal fan of PB Blaster. Make sure you spray down all your shock mounts, bottom and top. You also wanna spray inside where the U-bolts come through on the axle, both inside this little retainer and on the bottom for the nuts as well. Really get those soaking because again, this is big, heavy hardware with high torque specs. And there's again, gonna be a lot of rust back here. That's just the way it goes. But first thing we're gonna do, disconnect both of our shocks. We'll do the bottom brackets here first. You need a 21mm ratchet and a 21mm socket for these. All right, we're gonna do the same thing with the bolts securing our shock up here as well. They were nice enough to weld the nut on the other side, so you don't need a wrench for this one. Once you get that bolt out, just kind of wiggle the shock out of the bracket. Sometimes these brackets can get a little bent out of shape when they go to tighten them down. All right, let's go ahead and do the same thing for the other shock. Sometimes the shock bolts can get stuck in there as well. Helps to kind of twist them and thread them out. All right, guys, now that we have both of our shocks removed, we can start unbolting the U-bolts on both sides. At this point, the leaf packs are the only things that are holding the axle to the vehicle minus the drive shaft. So at this point, you want to really put safety first. Make sure you got some floor jacks and jack stands, all that good stuff, supporting the axle on either side of the differential. It's also a good idea to have one underneath the pinion if you can manage. You don't necessarily need to, but it does make it a little bit easier to get the new lift blocks in place. To pull the U-bolts off, you'll need a 21mm deep socket for all these. All right, once you have the U-bolts on one side, go ahead and do the same thing on the other side.
Thanks for watching, and remember, for all things Silverado, keep it here at AmericanTrucks.com.